Hello again, it's Julia from the Sunshine Coast with you again, sharing my first standard card for our Kintsugi Sweet Stamp Camp today. I'm just trying to dial up the group to make sure I can see what you see, except here it is. Right, yes, so I've just got everything in the right place so you can see. Okay, so this is my card, and this card is actually just a very standard card. However, it uses a great technique called masking to layer imagery all on one stamped panel. And this Inspiring Imperfections stamp set is a really good set to do this with. Now, as with my fun fold card, I'm going to change up the colours, as you can see. So on this card, I've used a combination of Cloud Cover, Misty Moonlight, and I think that might have been Night of Navy, and I used Night of Navy for my stamping. This time I'm going to use a combination of Summer Splash, Shy Shamrock, and Pool Party stamped with Summer Splash ink. So let's see how that looks. I'll just pop you over there so we can see what we've got, and get my cards over here. Okay, so basic cardstock, there's my card base, and I've got my front for the base, and I like to have sort of what I call a false front maybe, because this is a much easier way to put the ribbon around rather than just stamping straight on my card front, and also it gives me more leeway in case I need to do another. Now I have already embossed the bottom of my card front with part of the embossing folder. Let me show you. So I know it's a bit hard to see, but on the embossing folder there's this large section here of florally bits that don't have any of the fault lines in it. So that's the piece that I used to emboss the bottom of my front and my inside panel for my card. All right, now this is masking tape. Stampin' Up masking paper, but you can actually do this technique with a post-it note or even just copy paper, as long as you hold it very still when you're doing your stamping, okay? Because I've already made this card before, I have some masks for the two vases, and after I've finished using, I've used them a couple of times, I've just stuck them back inside my stamp set so they're always with me whenever I want to stamp. So the first stamp, looking at my image here, you work from the front to the back when you're doing masking. The first image I'm going to stamp is the little bowl in the front. And I'll also work from the foreground to the background. So I'm going to start low with my stamping and then sort of work up slowly, okay? So stamp my little bowl there. Okay, so that's the image that's in the foreground. Always stamp first. And then I'm going to grab my mask that I've already used a couple of times. And so what I did to create the mask, I just stamped it. Oops, it's not quite right. Stamped it on the masking paper and then fussy cut it out on the actual line. Okay. So my next tall urn, I'm going to stamp just to the left. Now I want to make sure I don't put the base below the bottom edge of my foreground picture. So I've got to put it up a little bit and stamp. And because I'm doing a cluster of 3 vases, I'm going to cover this one up with my next mask. Okay, cover that up, and I'm going to stamp again. Now all the stamping here is a Summer Splash. And again, I'm going to make the base of this further one, which is behind everything, up a little bit higher than the previous one, okay? So up there. I've stamped it a lot closer than I originally did in my original card. So then we peel off the masks, stick them back in my stamp cover, stamp set, peel off this mask. And I've ended up with a cluster of 3 urns. Okay, before I do any colouring in with my stamping blends, I'm just going to stamp now this stamp here is actually probably a fault line to stamp on your images, but I'm actually using it to add my foliage. And then my You Inspire Me, just to the left of my vases there. You inspire me. I think that's a great greeting that you can give to anybody. All right, now I'm colouring in. Now these images, I had fun colouring in these images because you've got little flowers, and I originally did the blues because it looks to me a little bit like what I imagine Asian crockery to be like, blue and white, and also willowware and stuff. But this time I've decided to go for the tealy tones, the greeny tealy tones. So we'll see what that looks like. So my front urn, bowl, vase, I'm going to have white as the background and the images coloured with the Shy Shamrock. So just giving them a bit of colour for the leaves. The base of my bowl. Just using a very light touch here. Flowers, flowers, flowers. Flowers, there's a leaf there. And that's it. I might leave that lip white this time, the top lip, but I'll just do the inside of the vase. And with my dark Shy Shamrock, just add a bit more shadow on the lip of that inside. Okay, and a bit more shadow following the lines of the artist on the bottom. There's my first bowl done. Now the next one, I think I'll do this one in Pool Party. Oh, that's the dark Pool Party. I'll use the light Pool Party first and just colour, leaving the images white. So I've got leaves there, flowers there, colour over those, leave that leaf white, leaf. Gotta have your wits about you a bit, colouring in these guys. There's a leaf there, and that one, and another leaf. Okay, and with my dark Pool Party, just going to add some shadows right down the side of the outside edge to give it rounded, and right next to that bowl, so you can see that's a little bit in shade there. Okay, and then the last one I'm going to colour is Summer Splash, which is quite a bold dark colour. So I think once again I might just colour the actual imagery on the bowl and make the bowl itself white, but I will do inside the lip. Leaves, 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 another leaf, flower. Okay, leaf and leaf. And I didn't stamp that very well, so that's going to be a leaf because I'm going to cover that up and camouflage my poor stamping. There we go. And a little bit of the dark. There we go. I think that's good enough. Now on my little bit of foliage here, I die cut a piece that I've now lost. Hopefully it'll turn up as I'm going around making things. I'm going to put my ribbon around the back. Now similar to Tracy, I'm just going to put my seal on either side of the embossed piece there and stick ribbon on both sides, trim that off. This is lovely ribbon, and then add my adhesive all around, ready to stick on the front of my card. And also I'm going to add a bit of adhesive over the top of the ribbon as well, so sandwich that in between things. Okay, and pop you on the front there. And then with the ribbon again, just slide that underneath because it hasn't all been glued down. There's my bit. I'm glad I found that. I'm starting to panic quietly, you know, like a duck under the water. Right. And tie a knot. There we go. Ties very beautifully, this ribbon. And for my foliage, I've got, oops, this bit die cut. And once again, I'm going to use the stamping blends. What I'm going to do is basically just colour it in a, is that the next one? Yeah, light summer splash, to give it an ombre look. Dark Shy Shamrock all the way along. A bit more Shy Shamrock there, light one. And if you you can actually do this probably easier before you die cut by just scribble on a piece of cardstock and then die cut, and you get this lovely ombre look. Okay, multicolored die cut easily. Just scribble on your piece of paper like that and then die cut. Okay, so that's what it looks like. All done. And we're going to pop that across the top here somewhere. What did I do? I did it that way. Okay, now for this job you do actually have to use glue. It wasn't as clever as Jan doing the adhesive sheet, but just adding little bits of glue, just strategically. I'm not a fan of glue. I don't like getting sticky fingers. And I magically am able to do it no matter what I do. Okay. And pop you on like that. And then I've got these gorgeous flower accents to put in between the flowery things. Oh dear. Oh no, it's not going to move. I missed a bit there. Rightio. So I'm going to use these flowery accents to cover up all my mistakes. There, one there. So I'm putting them sort of inside what looks like basically flowery shapes. And one in there, one in there, and because I've got a bit of stick showing, I'm going to put another one there. There we go. So that's the front of the card. And inside the card is the same sort of thing, which I already did. And again, I'm going to put a little bit of ribbon just to highlight that line between the embossed part and the stamped part of the card. Okay, put that around there and stick. Oops. Make sure I put some more adhesive over the top of that ribbon so that it stays. And there's the inside of the card done. Okay. So, which is your favourite colour? The light tealy greens or the deep blues? There's a question for you. Thanks for joining me. Up next will be Jan with her fun fold, and she'll be up very shortly. Bye now.